So we've all heard guitars distorted through pedals and amps, but what about other string instruments? Why is the entire orchestral string family left out of all the fun? For this video, I think it's time we give other chordophones a modern edge. And yes, I know that there are bands like Yellowcard that already have things like a dedicated violin member, and bass guitars are basically already just a shorter, horizontal, upright bass, aka a contrabass in Europe, which that name has caused quite a bit of confusion on this channel, if you know what I'm talking about. But let's go full orchestra and ditch the guitars and bass. The drums can stay though. Electric versions of the violin, viola, cello, and upright bass exist, but for this demo, I'm using the simple dry samples that come in the commonly used Contact plugin from Native Instruments, and running it into the Line 6 Helix Native amp sim. Let's go ahead and change the formula for this video and get straight to the arrangement I made before I try to break down all my thinking. This is Kevin from Said Too Much. The original idea for this video included using most all instruments, woodwinds and brass included, but trying to juggle all of those distorted, spectrum-hogging sounds would have been way too much. Of course, I experimented with that gross, overly distorted sound anyway. If you want full orchestra, I suggest just keep it clean, and get that cinema-esque sound a lot of heavy bands already do. As for this arrangement, I tried to make it as if guitars were still playing. So all the articulations, minus the intro, were high attack like sforzando or even tremolo. I kept the velocities pretty high up as if you were really wailing on those notes, and I approached chords in intervals of fifths and fourths mainly, like power chords. Now the violin and upright bass are playing one note at a time and on one instrument. But for the cello and viola, I doubled and hard panned two slightly different unison parts, like you would a rhythm guitar part to give them more width to sit in the mix. On top of that, they're playing up to 2 to 3 notes at once, which you usually don't do on those instruments. This means that even though I did visualize 2 violas and 2 cellos, you may actually need 4 to 6 cellists and violas to simulate the sound. I made 3 distinct distorted tones and try to keep each instrument dedicated to a 1 or 2 octave range for now. But I'm starting to think creating something with just your standard 4-piece string quartet plus drums could end up being pretty cool, especially getting real people to play it. Maybe more finger-playing pizzicato or other aggressive articulations would have been more appropriate too, which is totally unavailable to me in my restricted sample library. So what do y'all think? Did I nail down a solid first attempt? How many distorted instruments could we realistically have in any given song? And we could even go heavier too. The arrangement was probably more on the classical side than the metal. The tune was actually taken from a full orchestral piece I posted on this channel 2 years ago. What made that 3-song project special was that I posted it in 360 binaural ambisonic format, which means you can rotate all the instruments around you using your finger or cursor to pinpoint each instrument. It's optimized for things like the YouTube VR app to make it feel like you're actually there, but I think it's still fun to experiment with as a 360 video. I know this is a little off topic, but I've got a video explaining VR audio and the future of audio if you want to learn more. And there's several different genres of other 360 binaural ambisonic songs in its own playlist on this channel. We can move on. I'm just pretty proud of pulling these things off, especially with not really anyone else doing them. And not a lot of people, I feel like, got to see them because I'm assuming YouTube's algorithm doesn't really push 360 videos. I know I usually don't see them on my feed. Anyway, if you're a player of the orchestral string family, I'm sure there's still a lot more things to try and more aggressive styles of music. Or maybe there are some people I overlooked that are already trying. For now though, enough said. For early video access, raw instrument tracks, and more exclusives, find our community on Patreon and consider adding your support.
Said so much.